No time for an introduction. Let's go ahead and get into it. Today we're going to talk about Juan David Ortiz. And today's story was suggested by you guys, in particular Ashley DSG. Make sure you thank her in the comments. On September the 14th, 2018, a state trooper pulled into a gas station around Laredo, Texas, just so he could refill his cruiser. Now, while he was pumping his gas, some random woman ran up on him.
Sir, 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 help me, sir. Sir, 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 sir. Help! Bitch! What do you want? Help me, man. Somebody try to kill me.
The woman runs up to the state trooper and she goes, "Yo, the dude that was inside this truck I just jumped out of, he had a gun in my face and he was about to kill me, and I think he killed some other people." This woman will be later identified as Erica Pena, and the man's truck who she just jumped out of was, of course, Juan David Ortiz. The state trooper took her back to the precinct and they started getting some information out of her. And while they were doing that, a bolo was issued for Juan. Now, Erica goes on to explain to the police that she actually is a prostitute. She was a sex worker, and she had linked up with Juan several times. She actually liked the guy. He was pretty normal. They talked. He would take her to her local trap house so they could buy substances, and he would regularly hunch her on the side of the road inside of his truck. Sometimes when his wife and 3 kids were out of town, he would even take them to their house. As a matter of fact, this night that this had happened, she was just at this man's house. I'm assuming they hunched. But she started getting a weird feeling about him and the women that had been disappearing, and that's when the problem started. Let me show y'all a little clip of Erica's testimony.
Now, when he drove up, what did he drive up in?
In his white Dodge. We drove to his house. As soon as we entered the house, David wasn't himself anymore. Very nervous. I just got this feeling that kept me thinking.
Thinking what?
That maybe he was the one.
He was the one that what?
That had been murdering.
Now, since she was literally just at this man's house, it wasn't hard to get his address. But while they were looking for him, there was another alert that came in through the police telecom. Another body had been found who was identified as Griselda Cantu. So now the police know shit is getting real, because Griselda was just alive. And when I say just alive, I mean just alive. So after Juan fled the gas station when Erica had jumped out, he knew it was over. So he was like, fuck it, let me go ahead and do some more. That's where he came across Griselda, who was another sex worker. And I'm not sure if he hunched her, but he killed her. Execution style. Boom. So they searched for this man up into the early hours of September the 15th, 2018. And finally, they tracked this man's truck down to a hotel. The police came with their guns, and he came out ready to die. He had already wrote a couple messages to some people on Facebook saying goodbye. And when the police came with their guns blazing, guess what this man pulled out? To make them think that he was pulling a gun on them, he pulled out a cell phone. Since he's Latina and he had a weapon, he wanted the police to shoot and kill him because he didn't want to deal with the consequences of his actions. But in a twist of fate seen by no one in history, the police didn't shoot him. He lived. And when they took him in, he started to confess, and it was in his confession that they found out about another body. Because not only did he go and kill Griselda after Erica jumped out of his truck, he also found another sex worker named Janelle Ortiz, and boom. Now remember I said that Erica told the police that she believed that he killed them other women? 2 weeks prior to this event, on September the 3rd, he had picked up 29-year-old Melissa Ramirez. She was a mother of 2, and she also was a sex worker. He did what it do. He took her down this old dirt road so they can hunch in his truck. Now, after they got done hunching, Melissa stepped out the truck so she could piss. Fun fact, after you do hunch, it is suggested that you piss. It helps, I guess. Now, as Melissa was pissing, he pulled out his weapon and he to the head. She was found the next day on September the 4th. 10 days later, on September the 13th, he picked up Claudine Luera. She was a 42-year-old mother of 5, and like the rest, she was a sex worker. Now, like Erica, Claudine actually was suspicious of him as well, and she started questioning him about her friend who was killed, Melissa. And during her suspicion, they got into a heated argument, and Claudine tried to get out the truck and leave. But Juan was not about to let her go, so he got his weapon and boom, to the head. And then he dipped. But the thing is, Claudine actually didn't die, not immediately. She was found alive. They called the police, called the ambulance, took her to the hospital, but unfortunately, she did pass away at the hospital before she could relay any information. Now, you may be wondering, why? Well, let's talk about Juan David Ortiz. Juan was born May the 22nd, 1983, so he's 40, getting ready to turn 41. He was married to his wife named Daniela, and he had 3 children. He also worked for the U.S. Border Patrol for 10 years as an intelligence operator. And he was an emergency medical technician for the U.S. Navy SEALs. And he was a smart cookie. He got his bachelor's from the American Military University and his master's from St. Mary's University. He was promoted to intelligence supervisor at the South Texas Border Intelligence Center, and he was getting ready to be, well, he was being considered for another promotion. Never had any disciplinary action, nothing. But of course, the guy did have a dark side. A very dark side. Okay, so not only was he obviously cheating on his wife Daniela, he actually had this, what he would call the monster.
Pull up in a monster automobile gangster with a bad bitch that came from Sri Lanka.
That would come out of him. Juan had severe PTSD from being in the military. He had depression and anxiety, and he took a whole lot of medicine for all this stuff. And he topped it off with alcohol. And when he would mix everything together, he would black out, and the monster would do things that Juan wouldn't do on his own. Now, on top of all this, Juan had another issue. He had a hatred of sex workers. I know, ironic, right? Because he was hunting these sex workers all the time. But have you ever heard of the post-clarity? So after you get yours in, all of a sudden you can think straight. It was in this moment that he was like, oh, I hate you filthy sluts. Seriously, that's what he was doing. Which, I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist, but I think it was really just a self-hatred of himself. And so to try to lift himself up, seem like he was morally superior, he would try to down sex workers, even though he loves sex workers. I love y'all too. So when the monster took over, it was his job to clean up the trash. That's what he called the sex workers, trash. And that's his only motive. What's crazy is, being the intelligence supervisor, he was actually put on a task force to help find the person who was murdering these sex workers. The whole time it was him doing it. Yeah, he's got life in prison. He ain't never seen a light of day again. But that's crazy, right?